So you may have the keys to Hollywood now after this, right?
I
So
mean,
what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, exactly. I expect this is going to kick open all the doors. No, literally, I think, probably in 3 years' time, someone's going to be like, you know why I've hired you for this? Janet Planet. Like, there's no such thing in my experience as like suddenly everything opens. So I'm definitely not going to expect that to happen now.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Julianne Nicholson is an actor. On the occasion of the release of her new film, Janet Planet, she sat down with me in New York City to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process when you get a new character? Like, is there a typical road you go down? And what is the first step down that road? Like, is it typically the same thing every time?
I don't have a typical path. It depends largely on, it changes project to project. It depends on if it's something that you can, investigate in the real world. Like if it's something that actually happened or in a time frame period that really happened, but I come at it based on the script and it's usually an instinct, like just a gut response, whether I respond to a character or not. Mm-hmm. And then, basically when I used to get jobs, it was just pure joy because it was like a relief and you could do the work. But then once you have a family, once you have kids, it's like saying yes to a project. It has to tick a number of boxes. They're not the same boxes, but it's anywhere from like, where is it shooting? How long is it going to take? Do I love the character? Who else is doing it? Is it going to pay? Like, there's like, have I done something like that before?
Yeah.
It
has to tick a number of those.
Never the same. It's never the same combination of those boxes, but that's how it starts.
Yeah, but that's a good sign of success, right? When you can actually have this list. And you don't have to take everything that's taking you away from your family and not taking all these boxes in order to survive.
Yeah.
That's a real good sign.
I know. I feel really, really lucky, actually.
Right. I mean, so if it ticks all the boxes and one of the boxes that's not ticked is you don't know if this director is good enough, or maybe it's a new director.
Yes. So I would say to that, maybe 10 years ago, I would be more likely if I thought a director was like, I've had times where I've said yes to jobs and I didn't think I wasn't inspired by the director, but there were other things that were good about it. Yeah. The story as a whole, or maybe that role, or maybe I was the lead, or maybe it was, something else.
Co-star or something.
Yeah. And so now, hopefully, I understand more and have the luxury more of making sure that I think the director at least has a confidence and a point of view and an intelligence. Otherwise, now it's a waste of my time to do that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't always have that luxury. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's a process.
It's a process, yeah.
Yeah. Like for Dream Scenario, I actually hadn't seen Chris Borley's previous feature film, but I saw softcore and a number of his shorts, and I was like, oh, this guy's amazing. Like you can tell from his work that he's like an original, twisted, like so funny, so sort of stylized and naturalistic at the same time. Like I knew even if it, I could see his point of view, and that's now more what I'm interested in.
Yeah. So what do you do when you have to actually wrap your arms around this person, though? Like, especially if it's something that is going to be dark, like the Mare of Easttown role. Like, are you preparing early for stuff like that? I
can't like that. There wasn't a ton of preparation for that. That was sort of like already. A lot of it is imagination. Yeah. And such a beautiful script. And you're working with Kate Winslet, actually everyone in that show was so good. But for me, I felt like I already had ins there, like, cause it was a suburb of Philly. I'm from outside of Boston. So it's sort of that like East Coast, dark winters, working class kind of vibe that I felt like I already understood. And, you know, I'm a mom, and I had a son who was just a little bit younger than the Cameron, and who played Ryan in the show. And so then it's a lot of that is just sort of drawing from your own life and the words on the page and the director and who you're looking at, and just like imagination.
All the things.
Yeah, a couple of those things. So it's not, I mean, you can't prepare for those scenes. Like, I don't know how to prepare for those scenes necessarily. For me, I feel like
it might be detrimental to prepare, you're almost saying. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, I often feel like the first time I do it on film is like often feels like the most fresh, the most alive. But that's my own, you know, that's my own perception of my own work. So that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, the thing about theater is you're doing it again and again and again and again and again, but it doesn't mean your 30th performance isn't going to be as good, in quotes, as your first. It's just going to be different, but maybe it's going to be more lived in. Maybe it's going to be deeper. Maybe it's going to be more interesting. Right. So I just feel like there's actually no like rules or rhyme or reason when it works for me.
Were you an Annie Baker fan before this came to you?
Yes, huge Annie Baker fan. So I did a play called This at Playwrights Horizons that Melissa James Gibson wrote and Daniel Aukin directed. And I was the lead, and I had never done a lead in a play before. And I had only done one play previously in New York. So it was a big deal for me, and the show was beautiful, and it was very well received. And at the same time, Circle, Mirror, Transformation was there, which was also a hugely successful and show that people were excited about. And for me, that was my introduction to Annie, and I just was blown away by that show. Right. And she's just, have you met the pleasure? She's just like the coolest. She's just the coolest. Just an original, also smart, wonderful weirdo.
Yeah. That's what we want, right?
That's what we want. Yeah. And so then I went to see her Uncle Vanya and of course The Flick, and I would basically just saw Infinite Life, but I would see anything that she was in because I just felt like it's so fun to meet people who are doing their own thing and have some.
Was she getting to know you?
No, we met once. Circle Mirror and This was on in like 2010, so that was a long time ago. So we met then. And maybe I met her once before, like another.
So how did this come to you?
So I think she had me in mind when she was writing it. And we happened to also share an agent. He represents more writers and directors, but I've known him for a long time, and he's Rich Klubeck, and he brought me to UTA. He has impeccable taste, but Annie said she wanted to meet, so we met in the summer of 2021 on a park bench in Washington Square Park, and just like chatted. I didn't know I knew it was her. I was so excited to sit down with her, but of course, also like I get nervous when I meet people that I'm excited about because it's like, okay, maybe nothing's going to come of this, and I'm disappointed. So it's like self-preservation as well. It's like, oh great. So I had a lovely meeting, and now nothing.
Did you know it was going to be a film? Like when
I knew she wrote a film, but I didn't know what it was about. And so I think she told me a little bit about it when we were sitting there, but it was literally more of like just a meet and greet, like just to sort of be together and for her. And then she realized that she knew I was from Massachusetts, but she didn't know that I was from the same place, or that I lived in Western Mass also. And then my mom's an herbalist, and like I intimately knew this world. I'm 10 years older than Annie, so it's like earlier than this. But my mom actually had I have a half brother and sister who were the same age as Lacey in the 90s. So it was like, I mean, we shared so much. I would send her all these pictures from my mom and family and kids, and so it was like, she sent me pictures and was like, oh my God, that was the farm that I used to go to with my friend Sequoia, and the Sequoia is the name of Lacey's friend in the movie. I mean, it was just like,
that's amazing.
Pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was she sharing what her fascination was with this particular area? Like, did you understand, like, why she was setting this there?
Yes, and a lot of that, even though she's a playwright and words are such an important part of her life, a lot of it is unspoken. A lot of it is just if you know type of thing. Western Mass, that particular area, not the Berkshires, a little bit further north, is just a very particular part of the country, and we both thought it would be a beautiful thing to capture.
I see. I'm assuming then that you had a lot of time with Janet.
Yeah, I had a year.
So what is that ideal, or is that like what am I going to do with all that?
No, for something like this it was ideal because it was gentle, and it's like planting seeds, and so it's not even that conscious. It's much more just like time, and it's been really fun now for it to come out. And I went over texts between Annie and I from when we first started, and it's just all like shared memories and pictures of books that we read, or pictures of books that our moms made us read, or pictures of home births, or pictures of certain, crystals on windows, or wind chimes, or Guatemalan worry dolls, or all the things that were evocative of our childhoods. And there was so much overlap.
And some of this is in the movie, some of this in different ways.
Yeah, even if it's not, it's not
Literally,
in close up, it's there.
Right. That's the fascinating thing I seen a second time. I'm like looking at like in a wide shot, I'm looking at everything on the porch.
Anything that you see there, Annie has either approved or requested, or every little piece of frame.
I think I felt that the second time. The first time I'm just in it.
Yeah.
Second time I'm trying to appreciate. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, she put every book on the shelf in there.
That's the other. I was trying to look at the books.
Yeah.
I was like,
there's stuff to explore for sure.
But it also doesn't feel, and I don't want people to think I think this, it doesn't feel placed though.
Yeah, agreed.
It doesn't feel, it feels lived in.
I agree.
It, even all that stuff doesn't feel like it
doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like an idea. It feels like organic.
It doesn't feel like set dressing.
Yeah, right? I know. I feel that about the costume too. Costume department. Like it all feels 90s without like waving its hand at you.
Yes. And those of us that know the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see, I was a little bit older than Lacey, I guess. When exactly does this take place?
91.
91, yeah, I was 17. But this also, it just brings back so many memories every second. I mean, the music, of course, but I'm talking about just...
The Free Tibet.
Yes,
the Free Tibet bumper sticker really jumped out at me last night. Like, it's so funny.
Yes. The way it looks. I mean, were you aware that this was going to be part of it? Like all this stuff. Are you a kind of actor that uses the stuff around you, that needs to know where everything is in your home that this character has, and was this all helping you?
Yes. I don't need it, but it is helpful for sure. And so, for instance, I met Annie like a month or so before we started filming. I flew myself to Massachusetts. She drove up from New York so that we could go be at the house, take a walk and do some forest bathing and stick our feet in a river and have little fish like nibble on our toes and walk up Mount Pollux, which is where Janet and Avi have the date, go to a contra dance. So all those things, they just go into your body in a different way if you're doing it without cameras, without expectation, and just sort of, and so, to go and also like lie down on that bed and be on the couch and root around in the drawers in the kitchen so that it all feels lived in and not like you're just like a mummy moving around.
Right. And Annie said last night that you actually learned how to do acupuncture.
Yeah.
Was that important for you to do?
Yes.
And I mean, it must be something.
I mean, I wouldn't do it to you right now.
Yeah,
it was with real supervision. I mean, learning acupuncture is maybe like a generous stretch, but yes, I did. I went to this wonderful acupuncturist that was helping us, and then. And then she showed me how to do it. And then Will came one day so that I could do it on him there.
And he was okay with that?
He was. He's amazing. Will Patton is incredible. Incredible.
Nice.
I know.
But this helps you, though. Like even
Definitely.
that aspect of it. Like I once, Tracy Letts sat down with me, and
Love.
he said, "I'm not gonna. If I have to be the one who operates a machine, I don't need to know how to operate that machine."
Right.
I was like, "Really? You don't like? You're not even gonna like
Right. People
know?
I know.
It's like why? Why do I?
I
Need
can
to know
act
what,
like I know how to use the machine.
Why do I need to know what buttons? I'm not actually operating the machine." I was like, "All right, like this is what I'm saying.
Right.
Everybody's a
I
different
know.
leaf on the
Isn't
tree."
it amazing? Well, so for one, I mean, first of all, what a gift to be able to learn these different skills at a very surface level. But I've had lots of interesting experiences that I would never have had in a million years if I wasn't, doing it for a role.
Yeah.
So that feels really lucky. And for me, I knew Annie wanted to capture me putting needles in him. So how boring is it when you're watching a movie and you see the person at the piano player and then cut to the close-up of the hands and you're like, really?
Yeah.
It would have been the same if I was like, moving around and then you cut to somebody else's hands.
true.
So to be able to see me do it.
Yeah.
My husband watched the movie for the first time last night. And when I was doing that to Will, he leaned over at me and was like, "What?" And quite honestly, I forgot that I actually did it to him in the movie. When I watched last night, I was like, I remembered that I studied with her. I remembered me doing it for Will on the table at her office, but I forgot that I actually put needles in him on the day. And he was there for a while.
Wow. And you not only have to do it, you have to do it as if somebody does this every day.
Yes.
And there's a difference, right?
Yes.
I mean, were you thinking of that? Like,
of course.
Doing it confidently, I guess.
Yes. So she gave the woman, I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting her name right now, but she gave me needles to practice with. So I would practice on a pair of jeans or a pillow so that I could have an ease of motion.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like second nature.
Yeah. So from talking to people that have been in Annie Baker plays on this podcast, I've gotten the perhaps incorrect assumption that she has almost always been kind of directing along with Sam Gold on these plays. Like
I don't know, but I would expect that
it
would be a deep collaboration.
And it so then that led me to, again, a possible incorrect assumption that she's very specific about how things are said.
Yes.
So why doesn't it feel like that?
Well, because she's very specific in everything.
Yeah.
And not on purpose, not like intentionally. Like she's just a very particular person who knows how she likes things. But that said, but making this movie, it's more like the words on the page are very particular. There's no improvisation.
Right.
There's no even like flipping words. There's no changing punctuation. So that all was like word perfect, literally.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, we're doing it again.
Is that rare for you to go into something so word perfect? Were you
Yes.
worried about that aspect of it?
I wasn't worried about it because I understood, like I did August Osage County with Tracy, who you mentioned, and I had seen that play and I was blown away by that play. And then I had an understanding while we were making it that the more we could honor like the words as they were on the page, the more we were servicing the story and the better the movie would be.
Right.
That was my thought about it. But I feel like there's a thing now in acting in general, like where make it your own.
Yeah.
Make it natural. Yeah. And sometimes that's great.
It's
and
great
sometimes
if it's bad. If it's bad writing, you're making it better.
Right. Or even if it's not bad, like Mare of Easttown, like Brad was not precious about his work at all, and was fine if you wanted to add something, change something. Like so, sometimes it's wonderful and helpful, and other times, especially if in my experience now with the two plays that I've done, or with playwrights, it's felt more like honoring the words.
Yeah.
But she's but within that, it's very free and very different every time we filmed it. And she'd be like, "What about this way? Take more time. Maybe speed it up. Like, what about this over here?" Like, there's always.
So she wasn't like even specific about the pacing or hardcore kind of about getting you guys to bring it down to a certain tone.
Never tone, but sometimes scene to scene, she would definitely encourage us to take our time, be okay in the silence.
But this already feels like a person who loves actors, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And is not like, because it doesn't feel like some movies, even some movies that I like, I feel you could still feel like there's a control over everything, and you're appreciating it, but you can see the kind of a stilted performance. And I don't even mean that in a necessarily bad way. Sometimes
I know.
it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's stylized.
Yes.
This is a stylized movie where
Yes.
you could just turn the sound off and just enjoy the images. You guys are part of the images. And one can think, if somebody is so particular about their words and then they're making a movie and they're very particular about the images, then suddenly you're just another thing in the frame.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like
Doesn't,
that.
well, it didn't feel like that making it. It
Yeah.
felt like she was as interested in the continuing exploration of who these people were as we were filming. And I believe she had that even in the editing. You know, because that revealed all sorts of other things about
Right.
these people.
When did you know who was cast as your daughter, and what was the process of beginning to bake that relationship in?
Well, I knew that Annie worked so hard to cast that role. I mean, she just, like, no stone unturned with looking at professional child actors and going to schools and approaching people on streets, going to county fairs. I mean, I'm not lying. It was a year, and it was starting to get like, okay, we're filming in 3 months. We're filming in 2 months. And I was living in California at the time, and Annie flew out, and I read with 2 other girls there, 2 actors. And they were both good. They're both really good. But Annie was like, no, I got to keep looking. And then she met Zoe. And so Zoe, I heard Zoe say that I think there was someone, I think she's homeschooled, but there are other kids in that she homeschools with. And one of those moms had seen a flyer or something and sent it to them. So then they got in touch with the casting director. And so Annie had read with Zoe, and then she said, will you come to New York and read with this girl I found? I think she's pretty great, but I'd love to see you 2 together. So I came here and read with Zoe. And I thought she's what a wonderfully eccentric, mysterious person.
Yeah.
And then Annie said it was watching that, like they just recorded it on the iPhone, and she just said there was like worlds happening when she went back and watched it behind her eyes, which is so true.
Yeah. I'm afraid to ask this question. Is it just her? Is Zoe just Lacey?
No. So Zoe is not Lacey.
So she's this is an incredible child performance then.
Yeah. So she's not I don't think she's acting though.
Right.
Which is why it's so amazing.
Right.
But it's definitely not the same Zoe is not Lacey.
Yeah.
I think, but I mean, she just like showed up, and she always knew her lines, and she just has so much going on.
And so what is that like for you to work with that take after take? And how does that affect your performance?
So what I do whenever I have young actors playing my children is I try to start a relationship with them before we arrive at set. So I engage with a parent, usually a mom. I find out what they like. If they have their own phone, I might text them with the parent too. Just like I just start a dialogue, start communication. I find out what they like, send them a present, show up with the present, show up with a game. We played Uno, like beyond belief, because she had never played, and she loved it.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're working with kids, one of the most important things is to know each other, so that when they're in a scene with you, you're looking at each other, and you know each other.
Right.
Even if it was just like you went to have pizza or you did this, like there's already a history there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really important with kids. And so we did that. And then I also think some of like acting and movie making is magic. Like you can't really understand what's happening, but like something happened between our two characters when the cameras were rolling. It was our dynamic on camera is very different from off camera.
Yeah.
And I just think that, I mean, Janet also loves Lacey deeply, but I feel like she's not spending a lot of time necessarily thinking about her or what's going on behind her eyes. So, I mean, much of the credit is due to Annie also, who just knew what she wanted, waited to find that person, and then she would give her direction. Yeah. And she would also sometimes not give her direction and just film what was there.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what else she does. She was also, I mean, Annie, it was like a deeply loving set. It was very intimate, very small. Yeah. Lots of women. Yeah.
I'm sure that
so it was very supportive, very quiet, very gentle introduction into the world.
Yes. These men come in, you know, and I'm assuming maybe, or maybe not, I don't know, like that a man would come and you'd have to do the scenes with him. Yeah. And then he'd leave. Yeah. And then another man would come.
Yeah. So interesting, right?
So I'm fascinated by how that changes you just as an actor with a different, in a movie like this.
Yeah, completely changes everything. What the other person needs. Like, I feel kind of like my job on the film as the person who's like there throughout is to like be empathetic to what that actor might want or need to feel comfortable and included and as deeply an important part of the story as me or Zoe. Yeah. And then go from there. Yeah. Annie also has impeccable taste. So, I mean, all three actors that come into our lives, it was completely different working with each of them, but really fascinating and fun in very different ways.
And I guess were they each changing your approach each time? Or were they adapting to you?
I'd say both. I mean, just like how you were saying, you know, we're affected by people's energies. We're all affected by people's energies. So we're always, I feel like to varying degrees, taking the temperature of any interaction. Right. So it felt sort of like a little bit of a heightened version of that.
Yeah. This time watching it.
Did you watch it last night?
Yeah.
Nice. What a nice house, eh?
Oh, yeah.
So sweet. It made me so happy.
Yeah, and a beautiful, beautiful screen and everything. I love that place. But the first time was at a press screening for the New York Film Festival in the fall. But this time I was in awe of the Regina fight, and then the aftermath, and the restraint that you were displaying in this character in the end of that fight, and then the water comes in, and that moment with the looking at her with the water. Can you just talk about filming this, maybe, or what?
That scene really. So I've seen the film twice now too. Yeah. That'll probably be the last time I see it. Yeah. So maybe like 40 years or something. Because my family came yesterday, and so I wanted to watch with them. They were there with me when I was filming, and they've never been to like a premiere or anything with me. So it was very special to have them there. But that scene really jumped out at me last night also, and that particular moment, and I'm delighted by that moment with the water, because I feel like Janet really forgot she was there. Yes. And I have no memory of like that particular moment when we were filming.
Wow.
So
I was wondering if it said in the script something like describing the way you look at her, and then I was thinking, well, I don't know how she took that and did what she did, because it doesn't look like it's artificial at all. Right. So you
I don't think so. I think that's that's, I don't know what that was, but I was tickled last night when I watched it.
And so it's not like one of those things where you, after that take, you're even like, oh, that's a good one. You weren't even aware.
No. A lot of times I'm not aware. So even if a director comes up and be like, I love that part, it's like, I don't. I won't be able to recreate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's erase that and see what happens next time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
No,
Thank you.
yeah. Somebody I was with said, I said to him, I don't know why they're calling this a coming of age film. This is not a coming of age film. And he said, of course not. The mother comes of age. And I wanted to pose that to you and we'll see what you... I'm not really sure that process happens though.
No, but I do feel like there's, I feel like our whole lives, hopefully there are like moments of growth. And I do feel like something happens over the course of this summer. And I don't think she's a changed woman, but I do feel like there's a shift.
Yeah. But calling it a coming of age film, first of all, is so derivative. It's also like, it's undermining what happens in this movie with this little girl, right? I mean, it undermines what's going on. It undermines the scene in the picnic, like seeing it the second time, the mystical nature of that scene. I mean, this is not a coming of age movie. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I think that's probably just an easy thing to say.
We just want to say
there's enough. It takes enough boxes to be like, we'll file it under that. Right. Because people like to have, I don't know, labels or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
The ending, I again couldn't wrap my arms around the ending.
The dancing? Mm-hmm.
But I want you to just talk about that. When you got to that in the script, when you first read it, and then when you're filming it, I guess I want help.
Okay. Help around.
I'm basically like, I trust this writer so much.
Yeah, me too.
And so I actually like that I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I can keep watching this movie. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to.
By the way, I have moments of that while we're filming it, but like you just put your trust in the like I can't say like definitively what happens when they're on the picnic.
Yeah.
I don't have like a sentence or a paragraph of like what that means.
Amazing.
I have some ideas, but some of it is like do this, have some ideas as long as something's happening, and then like give it up to the director.
Yeah.
Because I trust her so implicitly.
Yes.
And the same with. So I remember when I was growing up, more like in the 80s in that part of the world, but like, for instance, my mom's an herbalist, my stepfather's a woodworker, and he built like one of our houses, and we had like a house raising weekend where all these people would come and help build the house, and at the end there was like contra dancers that came, and so that was familiar to me. I also used to, in the summer there was this like Freedom Old Home Week, and on one of the nights there was this like dance where everybody would come, and there was a camp that would sort of lead the charge. And so it's people like the gathering of people, and dancing is like a real particular energy. And so I felt like I had an understanding of what that was. And then going there, all those people are real contra dancers.
Wow.
in that room, and the people who were playing it, those are people that Annie like found. No one's acting like a contra dancer. Like all those people know what they're doing. Yeah. So that it felt. Actually, last night I really noticed the guy who's like calling the dance. I mean, just his tone of voice and turn of phrase. I was like dying. I know. But it's with love. Like Annie, like certain things are funny, but it's only with like love and revelation that Annie is like sharing this. There's zero irony. It's only with like warmth and appreciation.
Right.
And I just think it's sort of also like, for me, it's Janet's sort of go-to. She's still, even though the shift has happened, it's still that like, we are who we are, and that we like react in certain ways to certain situations, and like attention from men or women feels good to her. And so like, I don't think that that's ever going to die.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a little bit of, something that feels good when that happens.
And maybe, it's not a spoiler, right? Maybe Lacey, I think she smiles a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
And so maybe that's what I'm saying. She's seeing her mom.
Is she going to go dance?
I mean, I think she's proud of her mom. I think she's proud that she's still her mom.
Yeah, I think I agree. I feel like there's a little bit of like, as we get older, we understand human nature more, and maybe we just have little a little bit more understanding of who our parents are as people,
Yes.
separate from us. And so it
Yes.
feels like maybe there's just like a glimmer
Yes.
of that.
And it's almost like an acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did help me.
Okay. Yay.
That's
So
amazing.
good.
The great actor Ole Huskavy.
Yes. Who I saw last night,
Yes.
and he was very excited that you and I are going to be talking today.
Yes,
He's
he
such
said
a
that.
lovely guy.
And I said, I'm interviewing her tomorrow. And he said, oh my God, she's the best. And then I said, well, send me something. And he sent me this. Julianne is one of the first people I reach out to when I need help on a showbiz problem. She's been very generous with her time and her wisdom and her friendship. And she's really helped me understand that all of this is on a continuum. It's a craft, but also in some ways a way of life that gets passed down from person to person. And she's been one of the primary people that have shown me not just the kind of actor I want to be, but also the kind of person I want to be as I navigate through this wild and confusing hurricane-y business. I'd be curious to hear from her who some of her mentors have been and what she learned from them.
First of all, are you trying to make me cry? I told you I'm underslept, but that's not very nice of you.
Isn't that nice?
That's so beautiful. Yes.
Is there somebody you call, you have called, like he calls you?
Not really. Not that I can think of. Of course, I talk with other actor friends about like shared experiences.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's a mentor. So much of it has been just like looking inward and trying to have that be my guide.
Yeah. And you've said it before, like instinct is a big part of your whole thing.
Like 80%, maybe more.
And you have felt that has guided you.
Yes, I did start off with a manager who was wonderful, who encouraged me from early on, like the power of no. I try to pass that on to people, because especially when you're starting off and you don't know. I mean, if you can. Also, sometimes you need to make money. Like this is all, like I've definitely done things that I've had to do because I needed to like pay the bills. But if you have the luxury to, you know, it's also like what happens across your desk. Like I don't have access to everything that I would want to do, but based on what comes in or what I'm trying to find, you know, doing the things that you feel like are worth putting into the world. Working with people that you feel have, you know, something worthwhile to share and something that will push you and encourage you to grow and just to be sort of like have integrity around what you're making.
Yes. I feel like with Mare of Easttown, there was like we were collectively slapped across the face and be like, pay attention to her now.
Oh.
Right? Didn't you feel like that happened? And
I mean, sort of yes, but then I also like didn't work for a year, so it's like it's so you know it's all like I've said to everybody, like it's a process, and one thing doesn't mean another thing.
Right.
You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and hopefully you keep going.
Right. But this now, after we've been slapped, and now this is coming.
Now we're gonna
shake
everybody. Be like, what the fuck do we need to do?
Yeah. But so you may have the keys to Hollywood now after this, right?
I
so
mean,
what are you gonna do with them?
Yeah, exactly. I expect this is gonna kick open all the doors. No, like literally, I think, you know, probably in 3 years' time, someone's gonna be like, you know why I've hired you for this? Janet Planet. Like, there's no such thing in my experience as like suddenly everything opens. So I'm definitely not gonna expect that to happen now.
But if there is something that you would like to actually have come from this bit of a little bit of attention like this. In other words, something maybe that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you can think of that you're like, I mean, you don't have to be specific about it, but I mean, I'm just wondering if...
I guess I can't be specific about it. I should get specific about it, actually, because I feel like when we get specific, that's when those things tend to happen.
Yes.
I need to, get specific about what to do next. But honestly, I would love to have more opportunities to work with like interesting directors who might be, you know, the business is so fucked up that there's only like 3 actors that you can get in a movie that will actually like get a movie funded.
Made,
So for me, it would be like a thrill that more directors that I admire were familiar with my work, liked my work, and invited me along.
Yeah.
Like that's very general. I do need to get more specific than that, but like it's basically that I would just like more opportunities to do. One of the things that I loved about Janet was that it was like I don't know, co-lead role. Like it's fun. I've had a long career of wonderful supporting players, and to varying sizes, but it's fun to like get in there and have the juicy whole story arc.
Yeah.
So to have, more opportunities to do that, I would like.
Yes. Julianne Nicholson, thank you for the gift of this movie. It's a gift. It really is a gift that you've given us. Thank you for that, but thank you for this, for being here with me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for this. What a pleasure to talk to you and spend some time with you.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham, formerly IFP. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.